All right, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, where we continue to pick apart Raw, SmackDown. We're T-minus 6 days from Money in the Bank, 6 days from Worlds Collide. So it's been getting better. Okay, the last couple weeks of Raw and SmackDown were very boring. They were very plateau. There was not a whole lot of excitement. Obviously, we've had all these Money in the Bank qualifying matches the last couple weeks, so that's really the only thing that's helped the shows have any traction or any meaning. So Monday we continue to have this Seth Rollins and his goon squad and Paul Heyman continue to just chat about being the future and all this nonsense. And I don't know, like, I get what he's saying, but is it believable? Like, do you really put much stock that, like, Seth, Mr. Visionary, is worried about the future versus the current of WWE and its current status? Because I think they're always going to do fine. I don't think WWE is ever going to have a problem with putting on show. They've been putting on consistent episodes for 30, 40 years. So I don't think they need Seth Rollins to be the catalyst for the future. So
I
like
think
thoughts
it's
on
I
that?
think it's
Like, do you?
good. I think Seth Rollins being this type of heel where he wants to control the destiny of the WWE and aligning himself with two powerhouses really gives him that ability to craft Monday Night Raw in the way that he envisions it. You know, we've been talking about the Judgment Day not having any type of pull or stroke or any type of like influence. They're just, a,
They're big
a
talkers, but
collection of, a collection of like, you know, just people together pretending to do stuff backstage. So having Seth Rollins come in with Paul Heyman and, you know, aligning himself with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, I think we'll start seeing them take a lot of opportunities from people and start to craft what they envision for Monday Night Raw. So I think it's a good story for them, and it'll give those two future singles champions in Reed and Breaker something to do and someone to learn from. So yeah, I think it's gonna
you
work.
think you think more it's more of a mentorship than it is like
Yeah,
him
it's got
worrying
it.
about
It's
too much. Like, do you I mean? And
you
honestly,
know
Seth Rollins still has plenty in the tank.
right,
But I
but I
think that,
yeah,
like, I think he's trying to mold the future in how he sees fit. Just
you know
because, I mean,
I think he's
it
we
just
fit,
trying to mold both of them
yeah,
into the stars they can be.
it fits the narrative of him being the architect, him being the revolutionary. So it fits that story with him aligning with those two. But I think from a if we were to try to like dissect, the backstage creative and stuff like that, it puts them with someone who's at the top of their game in the WWE way and allows them to learn by being in a program with him. Because Seth doesn't need them, it just makes Seth that much more dangerous and unhinged when he has to like
yeah, I mean,
try
and
to
it's
contain both of those guys at the same time.
yeah, and like, and this faction is I don't think they've even given themselves a name, honestly. I don't think they will. But I think it's this, like, even though, like, we've seen these, like, main character and two sub characters in storylines before, like, this isn't a bloodline, this isn't a Judgment Day kind of grouping. It's not like, hey, we're all just in this to help me win things. And to a certain extent, I think obviously with Seth Rollins winning his Money in the Bank qualifying match, I don't think they're going to have him win, but I think they will try their darndest. But we'll get to Money in the Bank. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So Penta wins against Chad Gable and Dragon Lee to qualify, and there's basically 5 on each side at this juncture of Money in the Bank. I don't know if it's Raw or SmackDown that needs one more, but I guess we'll find out Monday and Friday, I guess, who's the last spot. But so Rusev returning has been nothing short of squash matches, which I think is a little bit they've put Aleister Black in a little bit better matches, but Rusev's just kind of been in these sort of squash matches. Now, basically at the end of the match with Tozawa, whatever, on Monday, you get the emergence of Sheamus, and obviously Sheamus and Rusev have a history in being in League of Nations along with Wade Barrett and I think it was El Del Rio. And so like I feel like there's something here that they can do. I think a Sheamus Rusev, maybe a 3-pack, match thing would be great because they're both big guys. And I think those would be banger matches. And
Definitely.
It doesn't have to mean anything. I just want to see some good wrestling matches. I don't want to see squash matches by Rusev. I want to let him really cook. So, because him coming back and literally being, he's jacked. I mean, like, period. Like he, because he kind of rolled over his character from AEW and kind of kept the similar vibe, the similar presentation, of his character. And so like, he looks like a monster. Let's let him have some good matches. So
They definitely need to give some good matches.
Yeah. So we had a triple threat tag team championship match between the New Day, the champions, the Creed brothers, and War Raiders. And honestly, it was a good uninterrupted match, like for once. And now I don't know if you guys caught the ring gear of the New Day. It was kind of an homage to I think it was Gorilla something or other, that really tall guy.
Gorilla Monsoon?
No, not Monsoon. Gorilla Gonzalez or something like that.
Oh, Elegante. Yeah.
And so they had some ring gear that I don't know what the special occasion was, but yeah, so they had some ring gear that was kind of an homage. So Gunther continues to try to interject himself in a championship capacity when he's done nothing other than sit in the wings. And I don't like that. I don't like that that honestly, Jey Uso really doesn't know how to be a champion. Unfortunately, he can get over with the crowd as his character, but like the championship reigns kind of, and it's okay. Obviously, for being his first reign, it's an okay run. But you look at Gunther and you look at him completely. You look at him as championship material because he's been championship material for 75 to 80% of his time in WWE in general. So I guess pun intended in general. Huh? But yeah. So they obviously have their confrontation, and like I want like someone else to go after Jay. Like I want something else. I don't want them to run it back with Gunther. Like he hasn't earned his opportunity. He's just sat there and waited and has these fancy little, promos talking about how Jay's, not really much of a champion, stuff like that. And like every time they have a confrontation, it's like the same thing on repeat. I just I want new challengers. you got to roster guys. And like with the Seth Rollins and Bronson, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, man, that is a tongue twister.
Mhm.
Like I feel like they could interject some of that into like a Jey Uso situation, but like just to continue to run back the Gunther thing, like I feel like it's a drop in the ball on creative because it's not creative. So, like, I mean, what do you guys think about Jay's reign at this juncture? Like, is it kind? I mean, is it mid? Is it like a little bit above mid? Like where do you think it is?
I am going to say that it hasn't started off as exciting as it could be. I think the whole Logan Paul um, inclusion of it gave us enough drama to say like there's potential for it to be like nail biting and Jay squeaking out wins or Jay clearly winning and dominating. In comparison to Gunther, I think it is simply presentation on creative, how they bill and book and showcase Gunther versus Jay. Jay is more grassroots, while Gunther seems to be more more polished and more, I don't know, pomp and circumstance.
He oozes dominance.
And
And
I
I
think
think
that's just how
that's
they're booking the characters. I mean, it would be no different if Sami Zayn was holding the championship, how they would book Sami Zayn in comparison to Gunther. We would, you could still make the same comparisons that, it's
it's
not
the
as exciting. I think what it is I think it has a lot to do with how different the characters are and how they relate to the crowd. Obviously, they want to make Gunther a heel and they want to have him stand out. It's kind of like this heel. And obviously, Jay is being booked kind of, more so as a babyface, grassroots babyface, can really connect it with the crowd. But Jay definitely needs to work on his promo skills, like really step up his promo skills.
Agree.
And then I think the presentation will follow. He doesn't need to be wearing suits. You can still run with the same stuff that he's doing now. It's just that his promo skills need to be they need to be refined. And the only way he's going to do that is to pair himself up with someone who understands how to cut really great promos and can take what he's trying to articulate and get across and connect and translate that in a way that he can pick up on the nuances of carrying a promo.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and make
outside of
it
that, I think this is going to run. This will work. Um, but we also have a lot of moving parts on Monday Night Raw. So I would not be surprised if we, in a few weeks, we start making the same comparisons that we did to Cody's title run. The majority of it was being drowned out by bloodline stuff last year. So that's what we have to look forward to. What's keeping Jay from getting over that first time singles championship hump. Um, yeah, I think that's what it is.
well, and I think a lot of it is that it comes down to believability, it comes down to presentation, and Jay has the crowd in the palm of his hand. That is for certain. Four letter, one word. Yeet. Like he has that down. He has the crowd aspect of it down. But like the believable promos, it's got to get better. But I digress. But so kind of we'll say a thrown together match, but so Kairi Sane versus Liv Morgan. ended in a not so fun way when you have this emergence of the kind of trying to qualify for Judgment Day, we'll call it, in Roxanne Perez. And the irony to it all is that Roxanne did something good and Raquel was a distraction. And so Kairi Sane obviously gets the win against Liv Morgan, which they really haven't had her take too many L's lately. Because the women's tag team division has been absolutely nil at this point. So you're holding titles hostage again, not defending them again. You're just holding on to them. You're a placeholder. You're a benchmark. You are a poster. That's all you are with those championships at this point, and it's kind of pathetic. Now, yeah. I like this putting Roxanne Perez kind of to rustle the feathers to make the Judgment Day somewhat interesting. We basically heard this week in regards to basically Carlito not renewing his contract. Not really surprised. I mean, he really didn't do too much. I think he has other plans, other avenues where he can draw from his nostalgia. I feel like he's still got plenty of wrestling in his repertoire. I think he has plenty of time. I think he can go to another promotion and be more of a wrestler than a gimmick. I wish him the best. I don't know exactly when his thing expires, but I mean, good on him for sticking to his guns, and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. So
He might go to TNA.
yeah, man, who knows?
He's been to TNA.
Yeah. So the difference for me between the Women's United States Champion and the Women's Intercontinental is that the Women's United States is entertaining. Women's IC is mid, below mid, boring as well. Like, just boring. We're running it. So now we get Becky coming out again and, oh, you left in a stretcher and I won, you might have won the match, but I won, blah, blah, blah. And like, they have this, like, they're trying to push this Becky Lynch heel stuff on us so hard. And it's
garbage.
It's not believable.
It's more of like a snooze fest because when she first her last heel turn before she was gone for a few months, whatever, that heel turn was good. This heel turn around coming back, trying to leave off where she left off at. No, it sucks. I'm sorry. You're not feeding me nothing. It's just I'm just gonna take a nap over here.
And again, this is my thing, is that it's not believable.
Nope.
See, and then that's the thing is that there's some wrestlers in WWE, when they go heel, they let you feel it. They let you engage in the heelosity, we'll call it. And so, like, it's very believable when they turn and they go literally a full 180. Becky Lynch,
she needs to learn from her husband.
Like, and the thing is like, but Seth Rollins, I don't even think is actually really a heel. I honestly just think Seth Rollins is just telling it like it is, and he is doing it at a high caliber level, taking a complete smorgasbord of all of his Messiah character and all these other characters that he's done and mold them into one. And I don't think really Seth Rollins is even a heel. I think he's just telling it like it is. He's just being forthcoming and honest. Now, Becky Lynch's heel stuff, yeah, it's bad. So like, we're gonna run this back again now because we've had really no matches building for an IC title match. So now, as opposed to new challengers, new anything, we have to run it back, and obviously Becky's probably gonna win the IC title.
Likely.
At Money in the Bank. It's gonna be a complete snooze fest. I get like the crowd is already barely invested in Lyra Valkyria, let alone the not so red-headed Irish last kicker in Becky Lynch. So I will definitely be playing on my phone during that match and waiting for it to be over with. Because
I think there's something there. I think it this could be Becky's way of trying or getting over younger talent. I think Lyra Valkyria probably needs a little bit of character work. I don't get the whole like, feather, thing. I don't get that. But I'm probably not the demographic, but that doesn't mean that she couldn't do with some repackaging.
it's
And
Irish lure is
Yeah.
what it is.
Well, I'm not Irish. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't something there that they can really win with. And maybe this loss, maybe Becky does win. This loss will give them the opportunity to repackage her and, dig into some other things and pull those out. Or maybe, Becky puts her over. And we get a heel turn from Lyra that gets Becky, to be face. There's so many different ways it could go. I won't say that I won't be interested in watching the match, but as of right now, I'm not really high on it. I would rather spend the time investing in both Money in the Bank
Right.
matches as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, I mean we only have 4 matches on Money in the Bank right now, so we'll see what happens. So speaking of Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins defeats Sami Zayn and Finn Balor in a triple threat to basically qualify for Money in the Bank. I don't know exactly how many times it's been. I mean, other than the one time, I guess, with the heist of the century, which honestly I still think is the greatest Money in the Bank cash in to date.
Yeah.
So he qualifies. CM Punk obviously continues to be the Achilles heel to Seth Rollins, the Joker to the Batman, as it were, just continuing to cause a ruckus with Seth Rollins.
Doing a
I
great
don't,
job.
Yeah. I mean, I think CM Punk is just doing what he's told,
Pretty much.
and he's been in the game long enough where he knows how to hone the craft. Like you get someone, these newer stars, you get them combined with CM Punk, you'll get 20 years of knowledge and experience. Like I think, CM Punk working with Jey Uso would be a good pairing just because Jay's new at the whole mic skills, because when it was him and his brother as the Uso was back in the face paint days, like they just kind of did their ring stuff. They really didn't do much promoing. They didn't do much mic skills really.
It was when it was those two, it was mostly Jimmy doing the most talking out of both of them.
We'll never know because they're twins. But but they looked the same back then. They kind of broke away their characters now, but but yeah. So I mean, and obviously being part of then the bloodline stuff for those 4 years. I mean, so like I think this is the reemergence of a new character in Jey Uso. Like obviously, like I said, he has the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand, but like I think just give him time. I gave Jade Cargill a hard time, but she's come around. So I think if she can come around, I have zero doubts in Jey Uso continuing to hone his mic skills and his promo skills.
Oh yeah.
So SmackDown, wherefore art thou, SmackDown? So SmackDown is once again in Knoxville, Tennessee. And in typical fashion, Bianca comes out and does Bianca things because she's actually from Knoxville, not billed from. She's actually from there. There's no falsifying any kind of where they're getting billed from. But and obviously Naomi crashes that party real quick, like, and I love what they're doing with Naomi. I think one, her mic skills are on point. She's believable, which is like the word of the day, right? And she's believable as a heel because, especially like, after the Jade Cargill car accident, all that stuff like that, like, and then like as soon as we see, Jade attack her at Elimination Chamber. And so like you seen that like the nice Naomi's done. Like now they're just letting her rip. And I think it's great. I love the whole caution
All
tape
street
that
calm
she's got
looking.
going on,
Yeah.
but I think it speaks to her character and kind of being unhinged, waving caution, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
in the, no more, GLO, the whole glow thing, no more, none of that. So
Yeah, that was boring.
I mean, it was a party trick. I mean, that's, they have to have at least like 3 of those on each roster of those fun gimmicky like entrances. So, but I like the new music. I like the new everything. I think they're doing a bang up job with her, basically letting her character cook because this has been a character that's been developed for like 6-8 months ever since Jade got hurt. And then all this stuff just, it kind of was wishy-washy story. But then like once Jade returned, then they're like, well, yeah, Naomi's a fucking heel. So guess what? Now she's going to do heel things. And so like, I love what they're doing with her character. And obviously she turns around and beats Jade Cargill and Nia Jax to qualify for Money in the Bank. Definitely looking forward to the theatrics that she brings to Money in the Bank. Much like she's done at the Royal Rumble, stuff like that. So like I look forward to the unexpected that Naomi specifically will bring to Money in the Bank. So I'm all for it. Now to the more saddened news to my partner to my right. So fucking R-Truth has been released and it's bullshit. And he said he wasn't going to rant, but I'm with you on this. Like you have some of the most stupid characters in WWE right now. Akira Tozawa still has a job, and somehow the veteran status, the beyond veteran, of damn near 30 years in the business, and you release him. Now, we talked about before we went on, they could have offered him anything to keep him in the business. Because yes, he hasn't really been a consistent wrestler in the for the last maybe 10 years. But he's comic relief, he's fun, he can work with the crowd, he can basically fit in wherever he wants. And it breaks my heart because like, you release R-Truth. Like literally you had him in a championship match and then you had him, at least he went out on a fun note.
Right.
The whole thing with JC Mateo and back with Solo and all that. And, I think he went out the way he wanted to. I think it was kind of like, hey, give me this new guy. I'll put him over. I'll say my words and I'll be moving on. But I don't think this is the last of R-Truth in wrestling in the business and its whole.
No, he'll still do wrestling besides doing his music.
So
like I mentioned earlier, like we discussed, I think that if what is being said is true, that he declined a new contract or offer because he wanted to pursue other things, cool, fine, I'm good with that. You go out on your own terms, that's all right. But if it's something along the lines of them not offering a new contract and saying, hey, we're gonna cut you loose. And that I've seen it a couple of places. It's not a charity case or anything like that. You offer someone as a sign of goodwill and good faith, you offer them something. You say like, hey, we don't need you on TV or as in-ring talent, but we would love to have you under a Legends contract, or we would like to, get you as an ambassador and a Legends contract, or we would like to have you at the Performance Center as a part-time coach. You make those accommodations from someone who has been pigeonholed, who's been relegated to playing a comedic role for the majority of his career, you know, because it helped put other talent over. It helped get you from one story to another. You do that as good faith. You do that as
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
we steered you wrong in your career, and we know that thank you for working with us with what we have.
And maybe
This
they
is
did.
what
Maybe
this
they
is
did
what
offer
yeah,
it.
yeah, and maybe they did.
Maybe they did.
And he politely declined, saying like, hey, there's I still want to do some creative things, I still want to be in the ring. And that's I'm a wrestler and an entertainer, and I would like to pursue that elsewhere. And I would not be surprised that he does go somewhere that, as a wrestler, that he can break out of what he's been doing for the past 15 plus years and be able to offer more athleticism, more wrestling story than he has been. And whatever he's going to do, I'm going to follow and, check out and support the best that I can. And I think a lot of people will, but there's definitely going to be a void there that has been filled and crafted and really just been a pleasure to watch R-Truth for the past 15 plus years on WWE programming. So there's no one like him. There won't be anyone like him. So yeah, kudos to R-Truth, and yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like I don't think he's gonna be hard up for work. I mean, he's
He might just want to spend time with his family.
well, and and it could be any list of things, but I think he'll be just fine.
Well, definitely.
And
He has a lot of money.
Yeah, and we wish him nothing but the best. I mean, I think when he's been in the business as long as he has, I think it's okay to step away. So we have a match that's supposed to be at Worlds Collide between Ethan Page, Ray Phoenix, Javon Evans, and one of the luchadors. I can't think of his name. But so on SmackDown we had Los Garza versus Ray Phoenix and Javon Evans. And I tell you what, man, I think it's great that these NXT stars get a little shine time in on the main roster, even if it's for a match or two. But like if you haven't watched any of Javon Evans matches, he's insane. Okay, like, and he basically, his finisher is basically I think a lot of people are duplicating the RKO and making creative twists to it. There's a lot of NXT stars that do have something similar. Javon Evans basically he bounces off either the second or third rope into basically an RKO, right? And Sol Ruka also has what honestly I think is the coolest rendition of the RKO. She basically does a moonsault off the top rope into basically again like an RKO. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, I definitely recommend it. Definitely, some good stuff down in NXT. Lots of, talent that should be on the main roster sooner rather than later. I've heard comings and goings of, so Stephanie Vaquera is supposed to possibly be on the main roster sooner rather than later. Obviously she's the current NXT Women's Champion, so we don't know what's with that. There's been talks of Jordan Grace, Ethan Page, Ricky Saints. I definitely think in the next 6 months, Raw and SmackDown will look a little bit different.
Mhm.
And I only give it 6 months. I truly believe that with the emergence of LFG finishing their first season, a lot of those stars might get some shine on NXT, and then some of the people at NXT will get up to main roster. I don't think we will have to wait to the draft to see these moves being made. So I look forward to the next 6 months in seeing what stars come up. Obviously, an Ethan Page is an established wrestler. Ricky Saints is an established wrestler. Jordan Grace is an established wrestler. Stephanie Vaquera is an established wrestler. So like NXT is just the stepping stone to the brand, right? So I have no doubts that again in the next 6 months or so, we're gonna see a lot come up. Maybe some surprising more releases as we continue to shift around the rosters. So
We all know Carlito's going to be out the door.
yeah. So
Yep.
so but like that's just the business. You if you haven't watched NXT, like these guys they're still putting on great matches. Like this is still a 2-hour show. This is still 5 to 6 matches a night, some good promo work, and I think certain people have benefited from being in NXT to assimilate, to WWE, in the promos and what you can say, what you can't say, stuff like that. So again, 6 months. It's calling my shot.
All right.
So Zelina Vega defeats Alba Fire, and it's kind of funny, and I made this reference beforehand, is that Chelsea Green has her service with like the whole glasses and the suits. And then you look at Seth Rollins and he has his service because he has 2 guys in suits with sunglasses, with the exception of Paul Heyman. So it's kind of a washed, like they duplicate freaking recipes. It's a little bit silly. And like repeating it not in like a 6-month time slot. Like, no, this is literally like right now that they've duplicated essentially. I think the her service thing is stupid. It doesn't make sense unless Chelsea is the champion for this group to matter. I think Alba Fire and Piper Niven could do their own thing by themselves as a tag team and do just fine. I don't think they need Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green really doesn't need them either.
So yeah, Chelsea Green doesn't need anybody.
Besides
She's a great talent all on her own.
Yeah, and again, established.
Mhm.
So Damian Priest, after the outcome of Drew McIntyre and the cage match and everything, Damian Priest is basically kind of targeting Jacob Fatu. Hopefully, maybe we get that match. Maybe we get a Jacob Fatu Damian Priest for the United States Championship. I think that would be great. I think, that would be a great match.
Oh yeah, definitely will be, because you got Drew that's going to be out for a while because he's been like Seth Rollins, been fighting through multiple problems with his body and all that. He needs the break.
Yeah, and it's like way to be on TV without having to, and Drew's fought through freaking injuries for days. So
definitely from that Hell in a Cell match.
Dude, freaking that was like a legit gash. That wasn't like that wasn't there was no cutting there. There was no cutting.
There was no fake pills and bleeding there.
So we end the show with Cody coming out and basically having this confrontation with John Cena, and it's so terrible. John Cena is the most not believable heel in WWE. And someone made a valid point about John Cena's whole heel turn, and I thought this makes sense, is that John Cena truly leaving, right? and basically pushing the fans away on his way out, right? Versus everybody being invested in him and him being happy-go-lucky, and then just one day he's gone. So like he's being the biggest asshole he can just to basically finish out his career as an asshole versus
As
like
a
him being
prick.
happy-go-lucky and everything else. And again, I say he is the biggest merch whore in WWE. Like, it's another shirt. He has like 30 shirts on the WWE shop, and I'm just guessing because it's pretty freaking close. Like 30. And
Yeah,
that's
and when you go to the WWE shop, I think it's like 4 to 5 pages on under him of
Oh
product.
goodness, that is just ridiculous. That is just
and again, if you're a believable heel, you shouldn't be selling merch. Like, you don't need the merch money. WWE doesn't like people are buying
yeah,
the stuff, and I
they're
get
just you know what as
They're just
much
eating
of
it up.
as much of it is WWE just being the machine that they are, just churning out these things. I don't know how it would look if John Cena didn't have any merch.
well, and let
You know,
the
because he's
old
always
merch.
had
But if
it.
he wants to
You know
be a
what I'm saying?
heel,
Yeah,
if he wants to be a
if he wanted to be a heel, you know, they
black
could
shirt John Cena, that's
yeah,
it.
and
Like
that's
his
it. Yeah,
entrance.
yeah.
And I would
They actually I think on their website I think they do actually have a black John Cena shirt. I think it just says John Cena and it has something I can't remember what it says on the back.
yeah. So we have 4 out of 5 competitors for Money in the Bank, but obviously we'll kind of see how that plays out again tomorrow and Friday, how the last ones will fall. But let's just go down the list and make some predictions for S&Gs for shits and giggles.
All right.
So men's Money in the Bank, Solo Sokoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and TBA to be announced. Do you think the TBA will be the winner, or are we looking at? I don't think Andrade is winning, unless it's the push he's been waiting for since he's gotten back. I don't see Penta. I'm honestly my picks, and I'll just pick 2. LA Knight or Seth Rollins. Those are like I honestly between them, honestly, I'd probably say Seth Rollins, and I would say that his cohorts would help him win. So, like, what are your guys' thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank?
Well,
I'll go with I'm gonna go with LA Knight. That's who I would want it.
I'm gonna say Penta. Penta or Seth Rollins. I don't. Yeah, I think Seth Rollins having that champion or having that briefcase again could give his story that he's working with Breaker and Reed. It could give it a lot more credence, a lot more validity. It could be what their story needs in order to, you know, say he's gonna like, change, the future of WWE. So I would say Penta.
So, out of your picks, who do you think they would cash in on? Jey
Penta.
Uso or John Cena?
Penta would cash in on Jey Uso because that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, Seth Rollins would cash in on John Cena. to stop Cena from ruining wrestling. So yeah, I think along those lines, for my two picks, that's the only way that they could go. It's
And
Penta, because you could
and
have two faces. Jay could turn easily. They could turn Jay to
well,
make
and
it.
wouldn't it be
Mhm.
ironic if it was like John Cena, let's say like he has a match at the end of the year and he gets cashed down his last night by Seth Rollins.
It could.
Because him being champion, he's champion, but like they have a full calendar year to cash in, but unless he loses it anytime soon, he's gonna leave with it in December.
I could see Seth Rollins cashing in on him because he's took the United States Championship from him.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean it definitely should be interesting. I think as long as they don't completely demolish the men's Money in the Bank cash in like they did with Drew McIntyre last year, I think we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so women's Money in the Bank: Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and to be announced. And I'm thinking the to be announced will probably be another NXT person. But out of all those, I'm going with the 5 Feet of Fury with no doubt.
I'm going for Rhea.
Neither.
Either go with Rhea if it's not her, I would go with Alexa Bliss.
I'm gonna say Naomi and
I think that would make sense.
And TBA. Naomi or TBA. And either one of those two would go after Tiffany Stratton. Period. Yeah. So yeah. Yep. That's if I had to guess, I think that's the way that they're gonna do it.
Yeah. No, do we know what matches are on Raw for tomorrow? Is there any
I do not know.
Any dirt sheets?
We can just see what they're gonna.
Maybe Adam Pearce. Probably you can go to his Instagram and he's always posted some shit on there for what's going to be going down.
They haven't. The page exists, but you're not authorized to access it. So, let's see here. I don't know. I'm sure we'll get CM Punk to say something.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Now, what if CM Punk? What if he was the last one?
I don't see CM Punk taking a bump off of a ladder.
Okay, so according to the last qualifying match is CM Punk, AJ Styles, and El Grande Americano.
I could see El Grande Americano.
So I honestly, I'm gonna lobby this for CM Punk just because there's beef with him and Seth Rollins. And I mean, El Grande is not winning, but like, I mean, I wouldn't be against AJ winning. I think he's got more in the tank for brutality matches than CM Punk does.
Oh yeah.
But
10 out of 10.
Man,
I think El Grande wins that match, and I think he pins AJ Styles. Yeah, I think.
Man.
Yeah, and the reason being is that I think CM Punk will distract, or will be Seth Rollins and CM Punk will have a confrontation and a fight during that match, so it'll become a 2-person match and then El Grande wins. But AJ Styles, if he's wrapping it up, you know,
Yeah, they
Yeah.
what Adam Pearce announced is he signed to the main roster for Monday night is
Mm,
And
nice.
I
that's
wish they
why
would have
she
them.
will be there.
I wish they would have them lose belts before they just interject
They
them.
did. So
They
she
did.
did lose. She did
She
drop
did
her
lose her
championship.
title.
Yeah. To of all people, JC Jane. Like, and I'm just thinking like, ugh. like, ugh, her?
Yeah.
But whatevs. I mean, yeah. I just don't think that JC Jane is championship material
Yeah.
in the sense of her work rate, how she moves in the ring. She seems really stiff. Uh, but that doesn't mean that she can't, that she doesn't deserve to be there or she hasn't earned her way to be there. I just don't see her as a champion. Um, Crazy as it sounds, I would have thought Jordan Grace would have had a championship run before getting called up. And
Okay,
maybe she's
she's gonna be in a qualifying match on Monday Night Raw for the Money in the Bank ladder
Okay,
match.
so then Raw is the last ones then. So
Yeah,
I think they started off with SmackDown ones anyways.
yeah,
So,
it's her, and I would love to play it, but we know YouTube.
yeah.
I'll play it afterwards.
all right.
Yeah.
So other match. So we have Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul.
I don't
I
they have
hate.
like isn't that supposed to be a 6-man tag?
No, it's a 2-on-2.
Mhm.
But I could care less about that match as long as Logan Paul loses. Keep it short and sweet.
Yep.
And
Crossroads and a super kick. Yeah, call it a win.
yeah. So and then you
An
have
attitude adjustment just for
I did like how what Cody Rhodes said. He just like when they were fighting, like, are you gonna go back there and polish up his peace pipe?
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yep.
I love
And then-
Jay's face.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know what?
He just drops the mic. He's like, oh,
You know what? Now we
Oh.
gotta fight.
yeah, here
Right.
it comes.
Oh man, it was a great segue. It really was. And then obviously the last match that we have we don't have a fifth match at this juncture, so obviously that'll be one of those good old rush matches. But we have Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. Yeah, so I think Becky's gonna win just to spite her. Otherwise, Lyra wins like for a second time, and Becky puts her over to get her more over to be more believable. But
Yeah.
we'll
Who
see.
knows?
We will see. We will wait. We will see. We will. That's the name of the game. But we will put a pinner in this one. And we will definitely see what happens. We will definitely be here next week to break down Money in the Bank. Hopefully, we get some more matches for Worlds Collide. There's only 3 on the card right now.
Okay,
And
now I get who's the match for the final women's match. It's gonna be her from NXT, Liv Morgan, and Ivy Nile.
Ivy Nile, yeah.
Yes, those three.
So
I just read
it'd be Vakir, Ivy Nile, and Liv Morgan.
Yep.
Well, Liv Morgan's already had her shot, or no, she didn't. I don't know.
No, she didn't.
That was just a
No,
regular
she had
match
it.
between her and what's her name.
Kairi Sane.
Well,
So that changes everything. So it could be Liv Morgan getting in, pinning Ivy Nile. But it also could be Stephanie getting in.
I'm gonna go with Stephanie.
I think if they're gonna because they wanted to bring out these NXT stars for a minute, so I think just like any other time when they lose a belt and then all of a sudden they get the call up. So I think that's going to be the segue we're going with, because that's kind of how they did with other wrestlers. So
She will be a big name in there besides Rhea and some of the other
and
ones.
Booker T won't be there to freaking rant and rave about that freaking Devils
and
whatever
drool. His little drooling face.
Yeah,
I want to know how his wife feels about that.
I mean,
She probably loves it.
King,
Probably.
I don't mind you, King Booker.
I bet
Yep.
I bet Booker goes home and is like, "Hey, babe, can you do that finisher on me?"
Yep. Yep. Are the twins
think-
asleep? Let's do
I
it.
don't think she's got the. I don't think she's got the core strength, but
Who knows?
who
knows?
knows?
Who knows?
But yeah, so we'll definitely, see how things go Monday and Friday and Tuesday to see what we get for this weekend. But we'll just wait. We'll see. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.